Without a doubt, I am the sole surviving powerhouse of the supreme sword sovereign realm, celebrated as the era's greatest sword immortal. Nevertheless, I find myself battling stray dogs for scraps every day in the human world. From the turbulent human wars to the great Zhao dynasty's unification of the land, and now to the demons assaulting the frontiers, I lived as a beggar for 18 long years. This continued until one day, an elderly golden core Taoist descending from his mountain to hunt demons decided to rescue me. I resisted him at every turn, repeatedly attempting to slip away from the sect in secret. My reasoning was straightforward. To transcend the heavenly Tao and achieve true sword immortality, I had to satisfy the system's conditions. I had to conceal my power and beg among mortals for precisely 20 years. Until that time, aside from my immortality, I remained entirely powerless. Master, I beg of you, let me go back to the streets. In only 2 more years, I will become the sword immortal of this age. However, my master constantly insisted the world was far too dangerous and prohibited us from leaving. This old Taoist was named Li Wangi. A veteran cultivator with a late golden core cultivation, he had retired from the front lines with a permanent leg injury. He served as the leader of the King sect, located on just Hunchback Mountain. Alongside me were 2 other disciples, eldest senior sister Xiaohua, who was at the mid-foundation establishment stage, and little junior brother Luo Fang at the late key condensation stage. After he first took me in, I made several attempts to flee the sect, but I was invariably caught and returned each time. Whenever Old Man Li witnessed my frantic behavior, tears would well up in his clouded eyes. He would rail against the heavens, this wretched world. See how it has driven this poor child to insanity. He refuses to stay in a decent home and insists on returning to a life of begging. Do not fear. Now that you are here, consider this place your true home. Eventually, my home vanished. Half was ruined by the demon invasion at the borders, while the rest was demolished by the great Zhou dynasty. Old Man Li perpetually warned us of the world's chaos and forbade our departure. He would personally descend the mountain to hunt demons, earning spirit stones to fund the cultivation of my senior sister and junior brother. Yet the demons below became increasingly aggressive each day, their power levels steadily rising. Previously, Li would return looking invigorated and boastful, declaring, "Your master is a sword immortal after all." Now, he returned battered and bloodied every time, his voice tinged with shame. "When I was in my prime, I was a sword immortal," he would mutter. This continued until a temple was constructed directly across from our king sect. Those bald monks offered cheap services, worked with great efficiency, and even received silver subsidies from the Empress of Great Shu. Our source of income vanished. More importantly, the temple had seized our territory. I pleaded with old Li, "Master, please allow me to go out and beg. Give me just 2 more years, and I will become the era's sword immortal. Then I shall teach those donkeys a lesson they won't forget." No. But why? Because I am the sword immortal of this age. In that case, Sword Immortal Master, please find a solution to our sect's financial crisis. He certainly found a way. After much deliberation, old Li finally pawned his own sword, trading it with local villagers for a handful of radish seeds. Imagine that cultivators planting radishes. Our sect leader, who called himself a sword immortal, ended up pawning his own blade. This ridiculous story reached Quanfu Temple across from us, inviting their mockery. Senior sister Xiao possessed a fiery temper and often marched over with her hands on her hips to berate them. Our little junior brother was even more rebellious. In the middle of the night, while they were asleep, he used stones to shatter the windows of Quanfu Temple. Because his disciples caused such trouble, old Li went over to offer an apology. Upon his return, he told us to withdraw to the back mountain and cease all contact with those wicked bald monks. Furthermore, his time was running out. He needed to enter secluded meditation to achieve a breakthrough. During this period, he told us to concentrate on cultivating radishes and avoid making trouble. Once he reached the nascent soul stage, he promised we would demolish their temple together and celebrate with a fine pot of radish soup. Old Li entered the secluded meditation chamber just like that, and we heard nothing more from him. It wasn't until much later, when the demon race launched a massive invasion and countless flying swords streaked over our heads as cultivators hurried to the front lines, that we finally opened the chamber door as the radishes ripened. Reading the letter he left behind, we realized old Li had long ago rushed to the Great Wall of humanity. In his youth, he was a hot-blooded cultivator. Whenever the demon race provoked them, he would raise his sword to slay the enemy. Later, he broke his leg and the imperial court embezzled military funds, so he retired from the Great Wall of humanity. Yet he, a cultivator with a crippled leg and no sword, followed a civilian militia to the front lines. 3 months later, King Yensect received a letter. Old Li was dead. The front lines lacked troops and rations. In the rear, Her Majesty, the Empress of Great Zhou, was doting on her male concubines and ignoring state affairs. She had failed the soldiers fighting on the Great Wall of Humanity. Of 60,000 cultivators, 40,000 were lost in less than 6 months. My master Li Wangxi was among those 40,000. Everyone else retreated, but he didn't. He led a crippled army that could no longer march and defended the Great Wall of Humanity. In the opposing cultivator army, Golden Core cultivators were treated worse than dogs, and Nascent Soul cultivators were everywhere. I do not know where he found the courage to pick up a sword from the ground, prop himself up, and walk onto the city wall alone. Before he died, he even dramatically shouted, "Sword immortal Li Wangxi of Great Zhou's hunchback mountain king sect stands guard here. Who dares to advance? My master died." Later, I discovered it was the Empress who sent someone to kill him. His corpse was hung on the Great Wall of Humanity to form a mound of corpses. The white radishes in the courtyard were ripe, but he never got to see them. His last wish in the letter was for us to redeem the sword he had pawned and set up a cenotaph for him. But King Yensect had no money left. The only way was to reclaim the land seized by Quanfu Temple. Junior brother Luo Fang went to reason with them but was beaten and thrown out. Knowing she was no match for them, senior sister Xiao left King Yensect under the cloak of night. She said she was going to the front lines to bring back our master's corpse. A woman at the Foundation establishment stage had the courage to do so. I don't know why. The bald dog monks from Quanfu Temple across the way still possessed the nerve to pilfer radishes from our garden because I lacked any cultivation. My little junior brother shouldered the heavy burden of protecting those radishes. He reasoned that since our master, the contemporary sword immortal, had gone to guard the Great Wall of Humanity, it was only right for him to defend the radishes as his disciple. Junior brother also mentioned that once senior sister returned with master's remains, he intended to head to the Great Wall of Humanity to make a name for himself as well. Confused, I tried to advise him, asking what use a mere Foundation establishment cultivator like him would be out there. But Lu Fang replied, "Senior sister is a woman yet shows such bravery. As her junior brother, why shouldn't I try? Senior brother, do you think I ought to confess my feelings to her after the war ends?" I quickly covered his mouth. It was no secret that Lu Fang loved senior sister Xiao, but we never spoke of it openly. Still, those kinds of words always gave me a sense of foreboding. When senior sister finally came back, she was clinging to her last breath. She clutched master's head tightly to her chest, unwilling to let go, her body barely having a single patch of uninjured skin. Little junior brother had harbored feelings for her for so long, yet he could only watch in despair as she perished before his eyes. That night, he wept for hours before the graves of our master and senior sister, roaring at the heavens, "Damn you demons! I will have my revenge!" His shouting disturbed the monks from Quanfu Temple who had arrived to steal more radishes. Blinded by fury, little junior brother fought them, but he was severely wounded and passed away. One King Yensect, 3 gravestones bearing my home. I still recall how master would return home riddled with injuries. Our duties were always clearly split. Eldest senior sister would wash the blood from his robes, while little junior brother applied incense ashes to his gashes. I treated him with the worst attitude, often blaming him for interfering with my begging check-in plan. Nevertheless, I would always boil a basin of hot water for him. In those days, I still referred to him as Old Li. I sat in the courtyard for an eternity reminiscing about the past. Now my home had vanished. Those bald dog monks from Quanfu Temple arrived to provoke me. I was crushed under their boots, forced to watch as they uprooted master's tombstone. His hard-won remains were unearthed by those animals and kicked about like a ball. The bodies of eldest senior sister and little junior brother were also exhumed and strung up from the roof beams. A dilapidated Taoist temple occupying such prime land on Hunchback Mountain. "You all deserve to perish at the hands of demons," they sneered. The nascent soul stage abbot gripped my head, cursing. I felt as though my skull would shatter, yet I refused to show any sign of weakness. I spat in his face and snapped back, "If you have any courage at all, go fight the demons at the Great Wall of Humanity." Upon hearing my words, the abbot reacted as if I had told the world's funniest joke. The Great Wall of Humanity. Aha, the Great Wall of Humanity. Her Majesty the Empress has already ceded the Great Wall to the demons to end the war. What was once the Great Wall of Humanity is now known as the Great Wall of Demons. His cassock was clearly embroidered with gold thread. I had believed the world was improving, but I never expected it to remain such a disaster. Then I was cast down Hunchback Mountain. Standing on the mountain, my heart overflowed with sorrow and indignation. To this Empress, The tragic deaths of my king sect family and the 40,000 cultivators who defended the border had become nothing more than a cruel joke. Down in the city at the mountain's base, wails of grief filled the air, and blood flowed like rivers. People watched the stumbling pedestrians with bloodthirsty, crimson eyes. The moment someone collapsed, they would cast aside all human conscience, rushing forward to tear at the body and gnaw every bone dry. Defeated warriors and fleeing refugees had turned the entirety of Great Joe into a living hell. This my second time descending the mountain in 2 years. Only then did I truly understand how well Master had shielded us 3 disciples. Though our conditions were harsh, we never sank to the level of eating raw flesh and drinking blood. Now, with no home or attachments left, I retrieved a broken bowl from the roadside and resumed my begging check-ins. 2 years, just 2 years, and I would become a world-renowned sword immortal. During those 2 years, the demons grew restless once more, frequently raiding the borders of Great Joe. This time, the number of cultivators willing to volunteer plummeted. No longer did flying swords whistle through the air overhead. What the Empress had discarded was not merely a physical barrier for humanity, but the spiritual wall within the hearts of Great Joe's people. Millions in silver flowed from the Ministry of Revenue, used not for border defenses, but to build temples and Buddhist idols. Looking at the massive, blazed Buddha of Quanfu Temple, I thought of the headless stone statue of our ancestral founder at the King Yen sect. We 3 had urged Master to find a mason to carve a new head for the founder. But his reply was always, the founder is formless. Today, it could be you. Tomorrow, it could be me. He believed it was better to trade for grain to fill our bellies than to repair a lifeless object. Why couldn't the Empress of Great Joe understand this? She preferred to erect such dead monuments rather than feed her starving subjects. I realized that besides Quanfu Temple, there was another place I had to go, the Imperial Throne Room. As I clutched my shattered bowl and begged for my final copper coin, the system's voice finally echoed in my mind. Congratulations to the host for completing 20 years of begging check-ins. Reward, Sword Immortal Cultivation. In an instant, a 5-colored radiant light erupted from my crown toward the heavens. Purple clouds billowed from the horizon. Thus, a Sword Immortal was born. I stood at the foot of the mountain and began the ascent step by step. Hunchback Mountain was far more difficult to climb than I had envisioned, totaling 13,452 steps. In the past, Master had traveled this path countless times. Worried about depleting too much mana and being unable to fight demons at the bottom, he would fly for 2 steps and walk for 2. Not once did he complain of exhaustion. Now, walking the same path he took, I could hardly grasp bitterness he felt. Yet, such a kind and lovable old man was denied peace even after death. Everyone in this Quanfu Temple deserved to die by 1,000 cuts. When I reached the summit, the original Kingdom sect was gone, replaced by a foul latrine. Seeing me arrive, the wolfhound that was happily. A dog feeding in the dry latrine barked at me with fury. I swiped it aside without saying a single word. A pair of novice monks at the Foundation establishment stage, who were guarding the entrance, spotted me. Ignoring their pet, they started to ridicule me. To think the abbot's palm strike back then failed to kill you, you remnant. Is the garbage from the King Yen sect actually here for vengeance? Lacking both power and resources, you're reduced to bullying the animals kept by our Quanfu Temple. In the past, I truly possessed no cultivation and endured their taunts. Returning now, I have come specifically for retribution, having ascended to the rank of a modern sword immortal. Why would I allow them to insult me any longer? Raising the wooden staff I held, I blasted the roof right off Quanfu Temple. The 2 novices immediately soiled themselves, their voices trembling with tearful threats. Why? Why is it you? What are you planning? Our abbot is a nascent soul powerhouse, and he enjoys the support of Her Majesty, the Empress. How dare you stir up trouble at Quanfu Temple? Are you seeking death? A faint smirk crossed my face. As for the Empress, how many sword immortals does she actually control? The young monks collapsed, unconscious from sheer terror. Tanju, the abbot of Quanfu Temple, appeared to notice the disturbance at the gate and instantly glided through the air from the Mavira Hall. On this occasion, he seemed to realize I was no longer the same. Come out, I bellowed with every ounce of my strength, my roar vibrating through the heavens and the earth. In Quanfu Temple, several monks with lower cultivation began bleeding from their 7 orifices. Among the 72 individuals residing there, the weakest was at the late Foundation establishment stage. The most powerful was the abbot currently in my grasp, who had just been forced to choke on filth several times. 21 of them had participated in the events of the past. Every single one possessed a higher cultivation level than my master, yet not one of them held a shred of bravery that could compare to his. I have always been one to settle my debts, whether they be of gratitude or of blood. Naturally, the first to perish was the mastermind Tanju. I shattered his cultivation before the eyes of all his disciples and cast him off the mountain peak, where he was smashed to pieces. As for the remaining 21, some pleaded for mercy while others rose up to resist me. I sent every last one of them to meet their Buddha. Within half a day, I had razed the entirety of Quanfa Temple. Those who had committed wrongs were tortured to death. Those who hadn't, I dispatched with a single sword strike. Before departing, I hacked the dog I had previously struck into mincemeat and tore up every radish in their vegetable patch. My master had craved a taste of them more than anything before he passed, but it was a tragedy that not even his remains were left behind. I lacked even a grave to offer my sacrifices. Master, oh master. Upon receiving the decree, Xiao Changkong struck his chest with excitement, grabbing the eunuch's sleeve as he inquired, "Has Her Majesty dispatched reinforcements to aid our garrison?" I've heard that the Golden Armor Army and the Demon Suppression Guards from the capital are all masters with heaven-reaching cultivation. If it's them, the eunuch avoided Xiao Changkong's intense stare and began to stammer, "General Xiao, please ask no more. Her Majesty has ceded all 4 border cities to the demons." Our great Zhou, Xiao Changkong's eyes burned with a fierce rage. A chilly wind gusted, making the battle-worn and weary man appear even more forsaken. How can this be? To repel the enemy, I led 8,000 of my fellow sect members into battle, and now only 3,000 remain. How can she simply surrender like this? What about the citizens of Great Zhou? What of the thousands of families standing behind me? Damn it! Does she believe I enjoy defending this place? I do it for the sake of my kin. That wretched old woman must be losing her mind with age. Listening to his unfiltered curses, I realized Xiao Changkong meant to ignore the decree and wage a desperate, bloody war against the demon host at White Jade City. Clutching the decree, he strode through the surviving cultivators and yelled, "The Empress intends to surrender White Jade City." I, old Xiao, refused to comply. Do you, my brothers, agree with her? The cultivators glanced at one another in silence. Not a single person dared to respond. In the face of his absolute silence, Xiao Changkong performed an act no one anticipated. He tore the imperial decree's green jade scroll and yellow silk into pieces before their very eyes. If White Jade City is lost, the demon legions will march directly into the heart of Great Zhou, bringing shame upon our wives, daughters, and kin. I will ask you once more, do you brothers agree? Xiao Changkong's valiant spirit immediately sparked a fire within everyone's souls. The cultivators, already balanced on the edge of life and death, let out a roar. We do not agree, and what shall we do since we disagree? Slay the enemy. Are you terrified of dying? What is there to fear in death? Excellent. You are truly the men who crawled out from the heaps of corpses alongside me, Xiao Changkong. Every one of you has the courage of a true man. As I listened to their exchange, I finally grasped why my master had been willing to stand atop the city wall and shout those same words long ago. It wasn't for the sake of the Empress perched high in her palace, to ensure the small lamps in the homes behind them kept burning. As the massive demon army advanced, my sword immortal cultivation erupted like a devastating landslide and a surging tsunami. Xiao Changkong shook his massive, tower-like frame and questioned me, "Righteous warrior, have you truly reached the realm of a sword immortal? Did I ever claim otherwise?" I gave him a faint smile, pushed off with my toes, and vaulted onto the city wall. "Righteous warrior, by what name should I call you?" Xiao Changkong bellowed toward me with all his might. In the past, I possessed neither name nor surname, but things are different now. Master, you were correct. The sword immortal of this era is you, not me. From this moment on, my name shall be Li Wanqi. I did not turn back. With one hand tucked behind me and the other gripping my sword, I stood atop the wall and unleashed a long howl at the 160,000-strong army packed tightly before me. Sword immortal Li Wanqi of Great Zhou's Hunchback Mountain King Sect stands guard here. Who dares to step forward? I don't know if it. Perhaps it was due to that shout, but the morale of the 3,000 cultivators remaining below the city wall surged to a new height. Within moments, they leaped onto the ramparts to stand shoulder to shoulder with me. Xiao Changkong, a soul formation cultivator from Great Zhou's Shigu village, is here. The moment his voice faded, he landed firmly at my side. Nascent soul cultivator Du Daemong of Great Zhou's Lu City is here. My cultivation level is low, only golden core, but I am a man prepared to die. I may be a eunuch, but I am still a man. At that moment, even the eunuch who had arrived to deliver the imperial decree scrambled clumsily onto the wall. His declaration sparked a wave of laughter, yet nobody questioned his determination to protect the city. The massive conflict erupted immediately. An endless stream of spells hurtled toward the wall, including many strikes from Void Refinement stage-old monsters. I was able to deflect these standard attacks with a simple swing of my blade. However, the resulting shockwaves caused the entire city to tremble. As the two Void Refinement elders held their positions, I noticed a tyrannical, unmatched aura rising from the demon army's central tent in the distance. The Tribulation Transcendent Stage Demon Marshal was finally stepping onto the battlefield. He recalled the two murderous old monsters and took to the field himself, flying directly toward me. At his command, the demon forces actually ceased their assault. Witnessing this, Xiao Changkong and the others formed an array, hoping to intercept the Marshal outside White Jade City, but their efforts were futile. A mere soul formation and dares to shake a tree? He cast a glare at Xiao Changkong, whose body was immediately sent flying backward like a kite with a severed string. A human insect at the soul formation stage thinks he can face me? That single look nearly ended Xiao Changkong's life, yet the Marshal did not strike again. Instead, he addressed me. Young human, I am Mizu, Marshal of the Demon Race's 3 armies. Shall we have a conversation? How about no? I laughed softly, ascending 100 sang into the air. I brought my sword down in a heavy slash, and the entire formation of the demon army was immediately torn to shreds. You have witnessed my power. Does a Tribulation Transcendence cultivator truly believe he has the right to bargain with me? I stared down at Mizu without the slightest hint of respect. Invaders like him only deserve to look up at my nostrils. Mizu maintained his smile, but beneath the weight of my absolute suppression, I could feel his murderous intent toward me steadily intensifying. Nothing to say. Then get lost. Another sword strike descended, obliterating 10,000 soldiers from the demon ranks. I gave him a cold warning. I will give you 3 breaths to take your armies and flee. Once those 3 breaths pass, not even the immortals will be able to save you. Young man, would you be interested in serving the demon race? You will not kill me. If you do, your Empress will never forgive you. Sensing my growing sword intent, Mizu's voice started to shake. Retreat. I will order an immediate withdrawal. Panicking, Mizu turned to flee. But how could I allow him to escape? From the moment he marched his demon army across our borders, we became mortal enemies. I lunged forward and my blade fell. In a flash of lightning, the demon marshal who led 160,000 troops was sliced in half. White Jade City was saved because Xiao Changkong tumbled from the city wall, becoming the sole cultivator wounded during the engagement. The crowd celebrated with great joy. Utilizing provisions captured from the demonic host, they finally feasted until they were satisfied. Once he had finished eating and drinking, Xiao Changkong sent me a private voice transmission with a sorrowful expression. Righteous warrior, the demons have indeed retreated for now. But if they invade again, what is our plan? It didn't matter. Tonight, I would go reclaim what belongs to us. I would take back our great wall of humanity. And while I was at it, I would decapitate the demon emperor. That night, while the people of White Jade City rested, I departed with my sword strapped to my back. Facing me were 160,000 defeated demon troops and 100,000 elite garrison soldiers. Additionally, there were 3 Great Ascension Stage Patriarchs sent by the Demon Court and 60,000 elites starting from the Nascent Soul stage. I learned from them that the Demon Emperor had issued a death order. They were to eliminate me, this young human sword immortal, at any cost, but he had overthought the situation. I delivered only a single sword strike, shattering the dreams of those 3 Great Ascension Patriarchs. Hiding within the army, they looked terrified. Li Wangji, I admit you have heaven-reaching abilities, but you cannot possibly exterminate our 320,000 elites in one breath, right? He was correct. I couldn't kill them all in a single breath, so I took a second one sword, 2 breaths. After 3 moves, I reclaimed the Great Wall of Humanity for my master. I stepped onto the chest of that aged Great Ascension demon, my expression remaining calm. Do you wish to live? He nodded frantically. Then go back and tell your demon emperor to wash his neck and wait for me to sever it. Yes, thank you, Sword Immortal, for sparing my life. Just as he relaxed, thinking he had escaped death, I annihilated his soul. Forget it, I'll go tell him myself. One man guarding the pass, a sword pointed at the demon imperial court, slaughtering the enemy nation so thoroughly that 3 generations were wiped out. If word of this spread, our King Yen sect would surely make a name for itself, wouldn't it? Before leaving the Great Wall of Humanity for the Demon Imperial Court, I used my finger as a blade and carved a line into the city wall. Li Wangyi and Luo Fang of the King Yen sect guarded the pass here. 12 imperial edicts flew from the capital into my hands, sent along with the head of that eunuch from before. I and the 3,000 who defended White Jade City were declared wanted criminals. Zhou Xiao's demand was quite simple. She used the lives of those 3,000 people to pressure me into returning to the capital to report. After casually taking the demon emperor's head, I couldn't refuse, yet Xiao Qiankong died anyway. Wearing a bamboo hat, I stood at the gates of the capital, which appeared prosperous and peaceful to the world. Several elite Golden Corps guards were meticulously observing every pedestrian, afraid of missing me, the major fugitive wanted by the court. When my turn came, I snatched the portrait from their hands, so ugly. It doesn't look like me at all. I removed the bamboo hat, revealing my true face. The peaceful atmosphere was instantly shattered. I stated clearly, I won't make things difficult for you. Go call Zhou Xiao over. I have words for her, but they seemed unable to understand my request. They called for reinforcements. They gathered in force, vowing to seize me on this spot. Because they refused to allow Zhou Xiao to meet me, I had no qualms about taking those extra steps to shatter the gates of the Imperial throne room. Initially, they sent only 3,000 to 5,000 soul formation cultivators, yet they were unable to apprehend me. Not wishing to harm the common people, I simply evaded their lines without striking back. Subsequently, the 20,000-strong Golden Armor Army mobilized entirely, surrounding the Imperial Palace in a tight formation. I could sense their fear. To them, I was obviously a wanted criminal. So why did they look so terrified? I inquired about the crimes I was accused of. Defying the Emperor's commands, conspiring to rebel, and undermining the pact between the two races. My response was a quote from the Imperial decree: purge internal discord before opposing external foes. I concurred. The time had come to wipe out the internal strife. My hatred for Zhou Xiao ran deep. She embezzled military resources, made blind concessions to the demons, and ignored the need for border fortifications. She squandered wealth on male concubines and failed to deploy elite units like the demon suppression guards against the invaders, choosing instead to incite civil conflict within the capital. Age had truly clouded her judgment. Step aside. I was displeased and had no desire to waste breath on them. Upon uttering those words, I unleashed my full killing intent. As I took a single step forward, they fell back 3 paces until I reached the Imperial walkway leading to the throne room. At last, someone acted. A banished immortal level of cultivation. A massive golden Buddha phantom stretched toward the heavens. I assumed the bald man clad in a black cassock before me was the current state preceptor Zhuan Dao. He approached me slowly, hands pressed together in prayer. Wherever he stepped, Buddhist chants resonated. Amitabha, benefactor. If you drop your blade now, you may still cross the sea of suffering. You must not follow the path of those 3,000 bandits in White Jade City, nor that of the ignorant disciples at the Great Wall of Humanity who rejected liberation and threw their lives away for nothing. My heart shook. Narrowing my eyes, I questioned the moralizing bald man. Evil bandits? Foolish disciples? Is that your description of them? Is it inaccurate? Had they laid down their arms, I am certain they could have moved the demon race and restored peace to our world. Back then, the Empress declared that if they did not withdraw, they would be branded as rebels. I was compelled by necessity to cast them into the Avisi hell. Upon hearing this, a surge of rage rushed to my head. It was he who had killed my master at the Great Wall of Humanity. They were prepared to give their lives to hold back the demon invasion for the sake of Great Zhou's land and people. Yet in the end, they perished by his hand. Do you feel no shame? As my killing intent intensified, Zhuan Dao went on. The demon race inhabits a harsh and desolate land. Our Great Zhou is prosperous. Granting them some territory is only right. This is the required path to universal salvation. If the benefactor will not heed my words, I do possess some skill in martial arts. Zhuan Dao finished his sentence. A golden Buddha hand descended toward my head. The shadow of that palm loomed over me. Across the entire capital, Wanda Dao watched me with a faint smirk. Benefactor, withdraw at once, or this palm strike of mine will level the entire city to the earth. I gave the tip of my blade a slight lift. Wanda's expression instantly shifted to one of complete shock. He pressed down with both palms, yet they remained frozen, unable to descend even a fraction of an inch. The path of a sword immortal was deemed peerless even within the celestial realms, much less in this mortal world where my every command was absolute law. The moment I stirred, every temple in the capital was ripped from its foundations as my sword tip rose, dragging up clouds of dust and debris from the ruins. Rubble and earth blanketed every single street. Intricately carved statues of gold and jade Buddha figures splintered into a million shards, raining down upon the city like a storm. A single fragment could have supported a commoner's family for many months. Yet Zhou Xiao squandered such wealth just to please that Buddhist male concubine. It was truly pathetic. Around me, tens of thousands of cultivators stood by, merely observing. If anyone previously questioned my ability to slay 3 great Ascension stage masters, they certainly understood my strength now. Wanda, your time has come. No. This humble monk admits his errors. Before Wanda could plead for mercy, I struck once. I obliterated the heaven-reaching phantom, crushing his spirit and soul along with it. Atop the solid gold dragon throne, the silver-haired Zhou Xiao was locked in a deep embrace with a red-lipped, white-toothed young novice, a glistening string of saliva stretching between them. Had I not intruded, they likely would have remained lost in their sickly sweet tryst. At 60 years old, she dallied with a 16-year-old before a crowd. She certainly knew how to indulge. Upon my arrival, Zhou Xiao fixed me with a furious glare. Insolent rebel. How dare you invade the imperial court and interrupt my peaceful cultivation with the Buddha child? This was the one. He was the person who had enchanted the current Empress, leading her to build temples while neglecting the empire's affairs. I paid him no mind, turning instead to the ministers lining the hall. A deathly silence filled the court. Your Majesty, did this young monk cast a spell over you? Zhou Xiao ignored the question, continuing her affections until the novice himself asked, Zhou Xiao, I am asking, did I bewitch you? Zhou Xiao shook her head frantically in denial. Never. Do not be upset. I will have him seized this instant. Guards, summon State Preceptor Wanda Dao. Zhou Xiao rose, waving her sleeve to command those around her, but nobody stirred. Are you all revolting? Where is State Preceptor Wanda? Where is he? Arrest this lunatic at once! Are you searching for him? With a casual wave of my hand, Wanda's severed head tumbled into the hall from the outside. The State Preceptor possessed the powers of an immortal. How could this be? Zhou Xiao collapsed back onto the dragon throne, paralyzed by fear. Beside her, the novice monk turned pale. Your Majesty, this maniac murdered my master. You must grant me justice, Your Majesty. The young monk pulled at Xiao's sleeve, tears welling in his eyes. It was sickening and loud. With a single glance, I caused him to burst into a crimson mist. This was the primary villain who had nearly sunk the great Zhou dynasty. His blood truly reeked. Guards, seize him. Where are the demon suppression units? Where is the golden armor army? My loyal subjects, whoever kills this madman for me will be rewarded handsomely. Not a single court official made a move. Instead, they all retreated as one, opening a path for me. I approached the dragon throne step by step, cornering her with questions. Tell me, did you see the Great Wall of Humanity? Did you hand the 4 border cities to the demons? It was the State Preceptor. Zhuan Dao was the one who gave the order. It had nothing to do with me. I ask you again, the remaining cultivators who couldn't leave the Great Wall in time, and the 3,000 righteous warriors who defended White Jade City who killed them. One Dao. It was also one Dao. One Dao killed them. I turned my head and glared at the officials below the hall, saying, if I don't get the truth today, you will all die too. After looking at each other, a white-haired, bearded old minister pointed at Zhou Xiao on the throne and cursed angrily. It was her. This demoness issued the decree. She is the one who brought chaos to Great Zhou. She dotes on male concubines and favors Buddhism over martial arts. After ceding the Great Wall of Humanity to please the demons, she sent Wu Dao to execute all the cultivators defending the pass. And the 3,000 people in White Jade City, it was also this demoness who ordered their execution. Zhou Xiao's eyes widened as she argued in a hoarse voice. It was just a dozen or so remnant Golden Core cultivators. If they didn't withdraw from the Great Wall of Humanity in time, the demons would have blamed the entire Great Zhou. You say they didn't withdraw in time? They were the last batch of cultivators to leave. Because their marching speed was slow, I was afraid of angering the demons. I was also thinking for the sake of Great Zhou. Zhou Xiao's voice grew quieter and quieter until, at the end, only she and I could hear it. In other words, if she hadn't issued that order, my master wouldn't have died. King Yansek would still be fine today. I had sought revenge for so long, and the mastermind was right in front of my eyes. She was actually sitting right here on the dragon throne. I hated her for destroying my home. I hated her for killing my family. Half of them died at the hands of the demons, and the other half died at the hands of Great Zhou. The moment Zhou Xiao's head flew up, it felt like the whole world went quiet. In an instant, my thoughts drifted. I seemed to return to that quiet afternoon. Master had pawned his sword to exchange for seeds. The hot-tempered senior Sir Xiao Uo was plowing the field while cursing. Little junior brother was chased off to carry manure. I boiled the remaining little bit of grain, waiting for them to come eat. Finally, I returned to Hunchback Mountain and rebuilt King Yin Sect. Here my home is buried.